Today's goal is to write and solve changing average problems. Okay, so we're talking about an average value that's going up or down. And this is one of the three sort of classic examples of using rational equations for story problems. And because this is one of the classic examples, you'll be expected not only to solve these problems, but to write equations of your own that will help you to solve them. Okay, example 1. If a basketball team has won 1 out of 3 games they've played so far, what percent of the games have they won? They've won 1/3 of them, so that's 33%. If you're not sure, divide 1 by 3 in your calculator. It'll be the decimal 0.33. That represents 33%. Now suppose they keep winning. If they win the 4th game, okay, they've won 1 so far, and then they win another one. So at this point, they've won 2 games out of 4 games. That's half, or 50%. If they also win game 5, so they won now 3 games out of 5 games, so that would be 60% of the time they've won. If they win games 6 through 10, okay, so they won 1 of 3, so let's just say they won game 3. So they won game 3, game 4, game 5, game 6, game 7, game 8, game 9, game 10 out of 10 games. So they won 8 out of 10 games is an 80%. Okay, you can see what we mean by changing average, right? If they keep winning, if this team is on a winning streak, their winning average, of course, increases. Okay, suppose we go back to the beginning. The team has played a total of 3 games and won 1 of them. If they win X games in a row, so X represents the number of games they win in a row, write an equation you can use to determine the percent of games they've won. Well, the winning average, and I suggest you always start writing an equation in words to help you make sure it makes sense logically before you use algebraic representations. A winning average is always the number of games that you've won out of the total number of games that you have played. And this is saying that you've won 1 game so far, plus you win an additional X games. Right? X is the number of games you play in a row. Now you've played a total of 3 plus X. We're adding the same number because it's saying you keep winning, and every single game that you win is also, or every single game you play is also a game that you win. So we're adding the same value in both cases. So we're done here because the question just asked us to write an equation. If you've won 1 out of 3 games, how many more games must you win in order to reach a 95% winning average? Well, we can say that our winning average will be 1 plus X over 3 plus X if X is the number of games you play and win in a row, right? You're on a winning streak. And this time you want your average to be 0.95, so that's, you can either write 0.95 or you can say that's 95 out of 100. Take your pick, either way is fine. I will actually use 0.95 because that's nice, it's just over 1. You'll see why I think that's nice in just a second. This is just a rational equation. We know how to solve these. We just need a common denominator, which will be 3 plus X. Here's where I thought having 1 is nice because you already have, multiply by 1 over 1, it doesn't change anything. So it's easy to obtain a least common denominator. I like to box it in, not because you're done, but because it's important. So let's distribute, and we get, let's see. Oops. Just lost my work on this. You get 0.95 times 3 plus 0.95x. Let me grab my calculator. So this is 2.85 plus 0.95x equals 1 plus x. And at this point, your denominators are the same, so your numerators must be the same. This turned into a linear equation, so let's get x's on one side. We would get everything on one side if it was quadratic, but it's just linear. So let's move x's to one side, everything else on the other side, and divide. And you get that x is 37 let's see what the original question was. How many more games must you win in a row? You must win 37 games in a row. That's a lot, but oh, that makes sense. If you want your winning average to be 95%, you've got to win a lot of games. Okay, as you continue to win, what happens to your average? Well, we saw this at the beginning, right? If you're on a winning streak, your average is just going up, 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 up. So your winning average will increase. It'll get closer and closer to 100% as you keep winning more and more games. Okay, suppose instead that you've won 1 out of 3. This is starting at the beginning. Oh, but we're on a losing streak. If you lose the 4th game, how many games have they won? Well, they've only won 1 out of 4, so that would be 0.25 or 25%. If they also lose game 5, they've won only 1 game out of 5 games, so their average is going down to just 20%. If they lose games 6 through 10, oof, you've only won 1 out of 10 games, so now your winning average is 10%. Go back to the beginning, you've played 3 and won 1 of them. How many games must you lose in a row in order for the percent of games won to be 2%? Okay, so that's the thing we don't know, so let's call that x. X is the number of games you lose in a row in order for the percent of games won. Okay, so let's figure this out. Percent that you win is equal to the number that you won over the number that you played. You want the number that you've won to be 2%. Again, use 0.02 or 2 out of 100. Just for variety, I'll show you. 2% would be 2 out of 100. The number that you have won, let's say you've won 1 of those games, and this time you're on a losing streak. You're not winning anymore. So I could even say, for emphasis, 1 plus 0, you only won 1, and you are not winning additional games, but you're playing additional games. So this x is increasing the number that you've played without increasing the number that you've won. Okay, well, let's find a least common denominator. It'll need 100. It'll need 1 plus x. So we can multiply. Oops. I want to emphasize that we're multiplying this entire fraction by 100 over 100. This fraction we're multiplying by 1 plus x over 1 plus x, which is just a form of 1. Okay, we can distribute here. We get 2 plus 2x equals 100. The denominators are the same, so the numerators must be the same. Okay, this is a linear equation, so we can get x's on one side, everything else on the other, and x is 49. So they must lose 49 games in a row to have a winning average of 2%. If they continue to lose consecutive, meaning next to games, like they lose the next game and the next game and the game after that and the game after that, what will the percent of games approach? Well, this is just going down and down and down and down and down. Their winning percentage will approach 0. Will the team's winning percentage ever reach the average they approach? Will they approach 0%? Will you ever reach it? Well, no. You have won 1 game. And so even though your winning average will continue to get smaller and smaller and smaller, if you have won 1 game, that means your winning average will never be 0.